Yo, what is up, guys? It's Cone, back here again tonight with another episode of After the Buzzer. Y'all remember a couple years ago when Chris Paul was on the Rockets, and there was a lot of talk about how Chris Paul couldn't stay healthy, Chris Paul isn't about that, Chris Paul's not going to make the finals, Chris Paul is getting washed, Chris Paul's contract is untradeable, why would any team trade for Chris Paul? Y'all remember all that? Y'all remember before the season when a lot of people said, oh, Devin Booker's stats are empty, Devin Booker isn't a winning player? Y'all remember that? Do you guys, or maybe you remember the fact that people were like, oh, DeAndre Ayton was a bad pick with the first overall pick. Do you guys remember that? Or maybe, very recently, you remember that a lot of people said that, oh, this Phoenix Suns team, why are they trading for Chris Paul? What's the point? I told hella people the Suns should trade for Chris Paul, and they said, why would they do that? It would only make them like an okay team. They're not going anywhere. It's not like they're going to the finals or anything, right? Y'all remember all that? The Phoenix Suns have just advanced to the NBA Finals. For the first time in his career, or in all their careers, DeAndre Ayton, Devin Booker, Cameron Johnson, not Jay Crowder, because Jay Crowder is now a back-to-back NBA finalist, and Chris Paul. If you have not watched this channel before, welcome, first of all, make sure you subscribe, but Chris Paul is my guy. I've been a big Chris Paul fan, especially as of recently, because ever since he joined the Thunder is when I went from a big fan of his to a huge fan of his. I'm a huge Chris Paul fan. I have a Chris Paul shirt. I root heavily for him. And if any team other than the Thunder, who, to be honest, had no shot of winning the West, if any team had to win the West other than the Thunder, I want it to be the Suns team. I love Devin Booker. I'm a big Chris Paul fan, and I just love what they did. And so, I feel very vindicated to see that the Phoenix Suns have won the West. From a team that has been out of the playoffs for the last 10 years, and Mike Breen said this on the broadcast, no team has ever had that long of a drought and made the NBA Finals the year that they returned to the playoffs. This is historic. And there have been a lot of people talking smack about these Suns. It's a Mickey Mouse run, is something that a lot of people say, which is stupid. If you don't know what it means, don't look that up, because you will just fall into a rabbit hole of the worst internet content that is out there. A lot of people have been saying, oh, like the Suns, they would have lost the Nuggets if they had Jamal Murray. They would have lost to the Clippers if they had Kawhi Leonard. Chris Paul has been one of the most unlucky players in NBA history. I don't care what people are saying about this. I am so happy for my guy. I'm so happy for the Suns making the finals. They blew the Clippers out tonight. I'm starting to think Chris Paul and the Suns lost last game on purpose so Chris Paul could go to the NBA Finals on the Clippers' home court. That's what I'm starting to think. But on a more serious note, the Suns just balled. This was the game that they had been meaning to play all series, and this is the one I was waiting for. This is the way that they played against the Lakers and against the Nuggets. These are the Suns that as soon as they beat the Lakers, I was like, oh, they're winning the West. This Suns team is really, really, really good. Even with Jamal Murray, I don't think the Nuggets win, and even with Kawhi Leonard, I don't know if the Clippers win. We're not going to talk hypotheticals. What matters is that the Phoenix Suns are in the NBA Finals. Monty Williams, shout out Thunder legend. Chris Paul, Thunder legend. Cameron Payne, Thunder legend. I really like the Suns. And this game is just a great example of why they are so good. Chris Paul is a great leader and a great player. People have been talking crazy on the timeline over the last couple of days. I love Cameron Payne, but there have literally been people saying the Suns are better when Cameron Payne plays than when Chris Paul plays. They said they were better without Chris Paul. And then Chris Paul tonight dominates the entire game. At one point in the third quarter, the Clippers cut it to a 7-point game. And what happened after that? Chris Paul goes on his own 8-0 run and ends the game with 41, 4, and 8 assists on super efficient shooting with 3 steals that killed all the Clippers' momentum. That's what a big-time player does. That's why he's the point guard. People have been talking crazy and forgetting who this guy is. People rely way too much on rings and like whatever when talking about players. Chris Paul is an all-time player. And now he's got the shot to get a ring and add to it. I'm sorry to whatever team comes out of the East. I am rooting for Chris Paul all the way. It would be cool to see Trae Young get a ring. It would be cool to see the Bucks, especially if Giannis comes back, get a ring. But I'm rooting for my guy, Chris Paul. I'm rooting for the Suns. Suns fans, I hope y'all are happy. This is amazing. If you're one of those Suns fans that told me, that I was dumb for saying the Suns should trade for Chris Paul, just leave your apology in the comment section below, and I'll be looking to collect them once this video is done. So make sure you leave those. I'm so happy for Devin Booker. This wasn't his best game, but he still had 22, 7, and 4. He was still really good in this game. I think he's really still struggling ever since he broke his nose. It just doesn't look like he's quite the same player that we've seen throughout the playoffs. and it's like full on crooked. If you've seen pictures of it, that nose is not the way noses are supposed to look. So hopefully he's able to get more healthy. Hopefully he's able to kind of regain. I hope he takes some time to work with the mask, because whenever he's wearing the mask, it looks like he just can't play basketball. I think someone said that the mask really takes away from your peripheral vision, and I know if I didn't have my peripheral vision, I would be terrible on a basketball court. And Devin Booker's a world-class athlete, so I don't know how much that takes away from him, but hopefully he's able to adjust with the mask. DeAndre Ayton took advantage of the Clippers' small ball tonight. This is what they needed from him last game. He had 16 and 17. That's what they need. The Clippers' tallest player most times on the court was either a Marcus Morris, sometimes a DeMarcus Cousins, or maybe a Nick Batum. Those were usually the tallest guys on the court for this Clippers team. And last game, without Zubac, DeAndre needed to take advantage, and he didn't quite do so. And in this game, he took advantage. They attacked the paint. Chris Paul shot his mid-ranges because there was no one that really had the length to even get much of a contest on them. Not that you can really ever get a contest on a Chris Paul mid-range that's good enough to disrupt it. If it's going to go in, it's going to go in. Mikal Bridges with 9 points. Jay Crowder went crazy in the first half. He had 19 for the game. I was starting to think we were about to see a Jay Crowder Western Conference Finals 30 bomb after his first half, but didn't end up quite doing so. Instead, it was Chris Paul in the second half. And I can't believe I'm saying it, but Chris Paul's in the finals, man. He might win a finals. Chris Paul is 4 games. Sorry, that hand was blocked by the mic. 4 games away from an NBA title. I need it. I need to see this finals run. I am so excited for Chris Paul. I was going crazy watching the game. He was hitting threes. He was getting steals in the backcourt. He was hitting pull-up mid-ranges. He was driving to the rim. I don't care whatever happened with Chris Paul's flopping. I don't care that Patrick Beverley kind of got his ankles in this game. We'll talk about Patrick Beverley in a second, who got ejected late in this one. I don't care if Paul George took his ankles. I don't care. I don't care what has happened before this. I don't care who they were playing. Chris Paul is in the NBA Finals, and I don't think it could have been more poetic than the fact that he beat the Clippers. I do, however, I'm not going to talk smack about the Clippers. I could, because as a Thunder fan, the Clippers are a team that I need to see the demise of to help the Thunder's future. We have all their draft picks is the reason why that's the case. But this Clippers team, they deserve so much credit. Like, I hope that people don't pile it on these Clippers, because they deserve all the credit in the world. They should not have been here. If you look at this team on paper, they should have gotten nowhere near the NBA Game 6 of the NBA Western Conference Finals. After Kawhi Leonard went down, if you look at the teams on paper, they should have lost the next 2 games to the Jazz or come into the series and got swept. And instead, they fought really hard. Paul George is a guy that I see getting crap. He does not deserve any crap. Paul George deserves so much praise and so much credit for the way he carried this team in the playoffs. He led the playoffs by like over 200 minutes in minutes played. He has the most points in the playoffs. He had a 40 bomb in the biggest game in Clippers franchise history up to that point. In one of the biggest games of his playoff history, he had the best game of his career when the Clippers needed him most. I don't care that he only had 21 tonight. The reason he only had 21 tonight, by the way, is because the Suns were just double teaming him. Every time he touched the ball, they were forcing someone else to beat them. And unfortunately, without Kawhi Leonard, these Clippers just don't have enough weapons. They didn't have Zubac, who's been a big player, not just in height. I've made this joke like twice now. Not just in height, but in level of play for these Clippers throughout the playoffs, and especially over these last couple games. Marcus Morris came up huge tonight with 26 points and 9 rebounds. He deserves a lot of credit for his performance. Reggie Jackson couldn't quite sustain the magic that he's been showing. He earned himself a bag in these playoffs. And I'm going to talk about all of these Clippers, their futures, in the What's Next video that's going to drop for them maybe tomorrow. Maybe I'll drop that tomorrow. I still need to do the Sixers and the Grizzlies ones too, but maybe I'll drop that tomorrow. Be on the lookout for that. But Reggie Jackson's going to get a bag, whether or not it's from the Clippers. He proved himself in these playoffs. And he's a guy that a lot of times has told people, don't sleep on me. And he proved it in this game. Or not this game, in this series. He wasn't great tonight, but he's been so good over the course of these playoffs. He deserves so much credit. And now we get to Patrick Beverley, which Patrick Beverley, he did play really well in this game. He deserves credit for that play. But at the end of the game, he's been talking smack to Chris Paul and the Suns all series. And he talks so much smack to everyone. So when Chris Paul talked smack back to him at the end of the game, when this was out of reach, when the Suns were going to win, Patrick Beverley shouldn't have. Patrick Beverley walked up and shoved Chris Paul with 2 hands on his back and just like pushed him over. He ended up getting ejected deservedly. But if you're going to talk that smack, you got to be able to take it. Like if you're talking smack to a franchise all game and then Chris Paul goes out there and destroys you on the offensive side of the ball, you've got to be able to take that. You got to take that on the chin. You can't talk smack if you're not willing to take the smack back without shoving a guy when his back's turned to you. It just didn't make sense to me. I know a lot of people don't like not Chris Paul. Well, a lot of people don't like Chris Paul, but I know a lot of people don't like Pat Bev. I'm not really a fan of his just because of stuff like that. But he was good in this game in terms of defense a lot of the time throughout it. Guys were just hitting tough shots, and that was really the story of the Suns. This Suns team has all season been a team that hits tough shots, steps up when they're needed to most, and that's why they're in the finals. Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, Cam Johnson didn't end up playing tonight, which was a loss for them, but they played through it anyways. They did it. The Phoenix Suns fans, I'm really happy for y'all. I hope you guys accept me as a temporary Phoenix Suns fan for this last series. 4 more games. 4 more games until Chris Paul is an NBA champion, and I am crossing my fingers that he gets those 4 wins. I need to see it. At age 36, he was the best player on the court in a game that clinched the Phoenix Suns, a team that has missed the playoffs 10 years in a row, their first finals berth in a really long time. Against his former team that he played most of his career with, the Los Angeles Clippers. The NBA is crazy. And the NBA just seems to have a way to create these like wild roundabout storylines. I don't know what it is. The basketball gods just have a weird sense of humor, I guess. Shout Chris Paul. Shout the Phoenix Suns. Also shout to the Clippers. Like I said, they deserve a lot of credit for the way they played. Don't be one of those guys that goes on Twitter and is like, oh, Paul George choked. Paul George is the reason they were here. If Paul George didn't drop 40 last game, they could have gone home. So that's all I have to say about this. You're going to see my video predicting the NBA Finals when whoever comes out of the East comes out of the East. The Suns now not only have home court advantage, but they get some time to rest and chill, and I think that's going to be really beneficial for a team that just played a really physical series against the Los Angeles Clippers. Gives time for Cam Johnson to come back. He was out with a non-COVID illness. Hopefully he's okay. Hopefully somehow Devin Booker's nose can be fixed. I don't know how long those take. Definitely not in time for the NBA Finals, but who knows. So I appreciate you guys watching this video. Let me know what you thought of all of this. Let me know what you think of the Suns making the finals. And are you rooting for Chris Paul and the Suns like I am? Or are you rooting for whoever comes out of the East? I understand if you're a Hawks or Bucks fan. And if you're not, let me know. Because I'm kind of interested as a neutral fan myself. I appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you guys later. Real One Say It Back.